episode 68 of the Relatable Runners podcast. Today's podcast is Best and Worst Workout Advice, Part 2.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we got such a great response from our questions last week about best and worst advice, and we got so much feedback that we had to make a part 2. So we are going to jump right into just more stuff that we heard from you guys. But before we get there, we wanted to go ahead and read another review from Apple. This one came from Austin. Great people discussing incredible stories with diverse topics and easy/fun conversation. Great for tuning into on a run.
Thank you, Austin. That is so nice. And just a side note on him, he is currently in Colorado, I believe, living for his job. And his run views that he posts are
next level,
literally amazing. So we're super jealous. Keep posting and we'll live vicariously through you, Austin. Thank you so much. And as a reminder, if you have not yet left us a review or a rating, please do so. It's very helpful just to kind of spread the word and keep the podcast moving along, which right now that's kind of our goal, is to
just reach a few more people
and reach a few more. So that would be super helpful if you guys wouldn't mind doing that. It takes like 30 seconds. Appreciate it.
And we're going to just jump right into some more advice from listeners and friends. So do you want to start our first one?
I will jump right in. So some of the worst advice received: you will be bulky from lifting weights and you have to do cardio.
Well, I mean, if you're running, isn't that your cardio?
Yeah.
I mean, not that you can't do other forms of cardio, because that would be cross training and that is great.
Right.
But that's not all you need to do.
Right, exactly. And that is kind of for people that don't strength train or aren't comfortable with it. And, even now for us, it's still our secondary, it doesn't come as naturally as running to us. But you always hear, if you lift weights, you're going to be bulky. And that's just not true, because, building muscle actually helps you burn fat.
Right.
And running and cardio is great because you're, working on your cardiac system, your heart, making it stronger, and your endurance and things like that. But with strength training, you're burning fat even when you aren't doing the exercise.
Right. Like hours down the road or days, that having more muscle just is harder for your body to keep up with, or not. That sounds weird, but it's just naturally burns more calories daily.
Yes. And helps you burn fat. So strength training is actually a good thing. And if you do it correctly, with guidance, if you need it, you're not just going to be bulky. And this also reminds me of, I will mention this each episode. I do apologize. But when I did my first marathon, and I was really focused on strength training just because I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I was like all in, and I was actually much leaner and had built muscle but lost weight. So it was like the opposite of what you hear.
What you think it would do.
Yeah.
Because when you mix the two together, you're going to...
perfect balance.
Right.
Exactly. And the best advice: strength train and take rest days. Listen to your body. That is very well said.
That basically sums it all up, right?
Pretty straightforward. Listen to your body, take rest days, and strength train. So there you go.
All the best advice.
Yes.
Our next set of advice comes from Casey. Some best advice is don't train the same every day. Change it up. And gummy bears for post-workout snacks. I mean, gummy bears are always a good thing.
Can't go wrong there.
No matter the time.
And I know, like BY uses fruit snacks. Obviously, we have a 5-year-old, so we always have a family size container of fruit snacks in our pantry.
Mott's are not just for tots.
No, they're not. They're for adults. He always uses those like for a long run. If he does like 6 miles, 7 miles, he always uses fruit snacks. And I thought it was silly, but it actually,
it's like something to look forward to, and it does what it needs to do to get some glycogen in your body really fast.
Yeah, some carbs and sugar. Carbs.
But you also are like, ooh, I get to have gummy bears later.
Yeah. And I've done this on the treadmill as well, just having them on the treadmill so that way you have a little snack.
You can be like, all right, every mile I hit, I can have one gummy.
So gummy bears or fruit snacks, they are actually quite nice. And if you're going to eat something like that, eat sugary items or something like that, it's best to do it like while you're exercising or immediately after, while you're, still moving and grooving and your body's kind of burning what you're putting in. So.
Yep. And back to like, don't train the same every day, change it up, like kind of like what we were just talking about. Mix in the strength training, different cardio types, swimming, biking, whatever it is you like to do. Just mix it up, because then your body won't hit a plateau and just get bored and know exactly what you're going to do and how to deal with it. So just keep changing it up.
Yes. And that can kind of go. So like with life, I prefer predictability. I like to be prepared. I like to know what to expect. It just helps.
Yeah, you and Nikki are alike in that way.
Helps ease anxiety. And you just kind of, having predictability is good in other areas. But in your workouts, when your body is used to predictability, it knows what to expect, it gets comfortable, and then it's going to stop working as hard. So it's very important to switch it up, keep it guessing. Oh, what are we doing today? Oh, we got to burn a little more. We're doing this. So it is important to switch it up. And I like that about burn as well.
Yes.
How we go, and it's always something
something different. And you never know like what the order will be. It's not like, oh, I know Tuesdays and Thursdays are strength days, or I know this day is going to be, you never have any clue until you pull it up, like what it might be.
Right. I think they're onto something. And my friends that go like 5 days a week, I know we get to go like twice a week, maybe 3 times, but my friends that use that as their primary workout, I've seen several people, over the past year have significant change in their body composition and their strength because they are doing something different every single day. So there's something to say about that for sure. Okay, some more good advice that Casey provided or has received. You must eat correctly for your workouts to be effective. And that is so true. They say garbage in, garbage out. And Griff, our wonderful video guy, he would be embarrassed if we knew we were giving him a shout out because he doesn't like to have attention drawn on himself, but we're just going to give it to him. He said something that was so relevant. What was it?
He said, you can't put diesel in a Lamborghini and expect it to run right.
Yes, that's very true.
Good job, Griff.
Very good, Griff. So
just like that, you can't put crap in bad food constantly all the time and expect that your body's going to work its best.
Yes. And another thing that you hear a lot is you can't out-exercise a bad diet.
Right.
Your body knows what you're putting in it, and in order to fuel properly, especially if you're trying to see any kind of results, you could have a dialed-in workout plan with a trainer and a coach that you're going to every day. And if you're doing those workouts and hitting all of that and hitting all your reps and hitting your speeds that you want to hit and then eating like garbage, over time it's not going to work out well and you're not going to get the results that you want. So make sure that you are paying attention to that. And of course, that also comes with balance. You don't have to obsessively only eat
broccoli and grilled chicken or
you need
whatever it is.
You need carbs if you're running and working out. You need good carbs like sweet potatoes and rice and things like that. I think people get confused when you say carbs and automatically assume like potato chips and French fries. There's also good carbs like vegetables and things that you need. So that can be a little overwhelming. And it's probably the hardest thing, to be honest.
I think so.
I mean, I could make myself work out twice a day, every day.
Yep.
But the food portion,
it's hard to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
Or to make the right choice.
Yeah. So it's all about balance. Yeah. 70-30, 80-20, on healthy eating.
We're not trying to say we're perfect at all.
No.
We're definitely not. But we at least try. We think through it and at least make good decisions most of the time, so that the times that we really want to splurge or there's something we're just dying to have, you can justify it a little bit because, all right, well, I've done all this other prep work or done good the rest of the week or whatever it is. There's just got to be some balance.
Right. And we will even tighten that up a little more when we start marathon training. So I'm excited about that because I need that discipline. To hold me to it. So.
And another best advice, we've kind of already touched on this, but we'll go over it again because it is very true. And it's okay to not work out every single day, especially when we're coming into our race season where we're really prepping to do our best and get good times and
feel our best.
You do not have to do something every day. Your body needs rest days to do its best.
Yes. And you make the gains, when you are recovering and when you're resting. And it's hard, if you're new to exercise or running, you think, oh, I've got to do it every single day. I've got to go hard. Or even if you're more experienced and you can get to, that obsessive level, which I know I've been there, where you just focus on that, dwell on it every single day. And
that's all you think about or
all
worry
you
about.
Think about. But you also have to think about rest and sleep and taking some days off and letting your body recover.
Right.
So in reading everyone's responses that they sent in to us and kind of preparing for this episode, really got me thinking about taking our own advice. Like Amber said, we definitely try our best to balance everything with our diet and exercise and things like that. But it's definitely easy to, once you start slacking a little bit in one area, it kind of trickles through other areas of your life.
Yes.
So these are also good reminders for us. Like, we're sharing this with you guys to hopefully help you in some way. But it's also a good reminder for us that we need to focus on our diet and rest.
Right. Come on, girls, we got to get back into this.
Let's do it. So that is also very important. So this is also all good stuff. I really appreciate everybody sending these in because it's good reminders for us as well.
So. All right, and some worst advice from Casey. The scale is the best measure of progress.
Ooh.
And I would venture to say that 99% of us, if not 100, struggle with this. It is so hard to not get on the scale and think, oh my gosh. But just like muscle burns more calories.
It also weighs a little more.
It also weighs more. And it is hard to get past that number crunch and looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh, I weigh more and I'm doing all this extra work. I should weigh less. But it is what it is. And if you can be strong enough to just not get on the scale, let your clothes be your scale.
Yes.
Or you take
That's
pictures.
what I like to do. My clothes. I know like how certain pants or shorts fit, and if anything is, if they're a little looser, I'm like, okay, so what I'm doing, I think I'm
working
on the right track. Or if they're tight, I'm like, oops.
Yep, you rein that in a little.
I don't even own a scale, actually.
Do you not?
Mm-mm.
I'm impressed.
Because I can't.
I
would be obsessed if I had
I'm the world's worst.
I would be obsessed.
My husband yells at me like, "Stop!
Get off the scale.
Get off the scale."
Because so much can fluctuate. If you're drinking a lot more water, you might be holding on to water.
Yep.
You might just have bloat. You might have more muscle. Like, it can always change. So don't let the scale be your deciding factor.
Right.
Go by how you feel, how your clothes fit, things like that.
All right, and then cardio is the best way to lose weight, which we kind of talked about in the best section, where it's good to have a mix. You need to do strength training to build up muscle to help burn that fat and calories. Cardio is great, yes, but it is not the number one ticket or the only way to lose weight. It's all about balance and mix.
Yep. Although cardio obviously is our preferred, we would much rather go out and just run every single day.
Yep, and not have to think about anything else.
And I'm sure most runners would.
Right.
But to be well balanced, that's not the only way to lose weight or burn the most calories and things like that. You need to do strength training, and even walking is good for you.
Yep.
And it's not all about losing weight, of course, as well.
Right.
So it's a good mix of everything.
And there's only one way to achieve optimum fitness goals, which is so wrong because, like we just talked about, if you only use one form of fitness or one form of exercise, your body gets used to it and it's just going to plateau. It's inevitable at some point. You have to mix it up. Even if you're only running, focusing on speed work some days and hills some days, because hill work is technically probably more strength work than running work.
You feel it in your legs the next day for sure.
So just mixing it up, even within the sport or whatever that you're working in, makes a big difference.
Yes, that's very well said. And obviously everyone is different, so what works well for you is maybe not going to work best for me. So find what works for you, and sometimes it takes some trial and error, some experience. If it's a little balance of weights in running or bar in running or cycling, it just depends on what works best for you, what you can easily
whatever
stick
it is
with.
that you enjoy enough along with running that you'll keep with it too. Because, like maybe bar or whatever, it makes your body look amazing, but you hate it. That's probably not going to work out long term.
Right.
So find something that you actually enjoy doing. I mean, if you have little kids, biking is great. I mean, it may not always be the best, hardest exercise, but you're still exercising and hanging out with the family. And if it's fun for you, then you're going to end up doing it way more. So it's still going to be more beneficial.
Yes, I need to ride my bike more. After
I do too.
last summer, obviously, when it was my vehicle and I had to ride it for 3 months straight, 4 miles per day.
Right. You may not have been real excited about it then.
I took a little break, but now I've found that I'm actually enjoying it. I'll go out with Landon and we'll ride down the street.
Yes.
Just
it's
do
fun.
a couple laps. It is fun.
You don't even feel like you're exercising. It's just like, hey, let's go ride a bike.
Yeah.
It's just something fun to do.
Should we mention that I copied you last year because I know you and Jason and the kids ride bikes a lot, and you had this awesome bike. You got this new bike, and I was like, well, that's perfect. I love it. And
she came over and gave it a test drive.
I did. I was like, well, I guess I'll get the exact same one. And I was even going to get a different color when I went, and they had the same blue that you had. And I said, okay, well, I'll take
that one.
I'll just take this exact one that my friend has. Thanks.
So we need to go ride bikes sometime and take a picture of our twinning bikes.
We should do that. We can go to the state park
That'll
or
be fun.
the Greenway and Adventure.
We could throw them in the back of my truck and run, and then finish our workout with a little bike ride.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Okay, perfect.
All
we shall do it.
Date.
I'm also having a flashback of one time I was where we finished running. We did our long run.
Yes.
And I think we cramped up at the end. It was very, very hot, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was in the summer.
Yes.
I think we did 10 miles or something.
I think it was at least that, because we were in marathon training last summer.
And I was like, okay. And this is when Amber and I lived a mile apart, so I would ride my bike to her house. We'd do our long runs, and then I would ride my bike home. So, getting on a bike after doing however many miles, sometimes a mile is just too much. And And
there is a bridge in between the two, which is uphill. It's not crazy uphill, but it's uphill enough that you're really going to have to push them legs
It's not flat. And if anyone knows me, I'm a touch stubborn, just a touch. So I remember this day in particular, Amber was like, do you need a ride? And I was like, no, I'm fine. It's just a mile. I can literally I'll be home in a minute. It's okay. And she's like, I can put your bike in my truck and I can just drive you home. And I kept saying no, and she's like, get in the truck. And she put my bike in her truck and drove me home.
Because, we were both, sweating profusely. I was like, the thought of me having to get on a bike and ride home right now, I was like, I would not want to do it. I could tell she didn't want to do it, but she just wouldn't agree
And then as
to
soon as I agreed, I was like, thank you for making me do it. As soon as we got home and I did not have to ride my bike, I was like, thank you so much for making me do that. I could not have imagined
And literally, it was 1 mile, so it took, 2 minutes?
Yes.
It was pretty funny.
So, good looking out.
All right, next we have some best advice from Libby. Rest days are just as beneficial as a good workout. Huh, that sounds familiar, right? Listening to your body is important. Higher weight plus less reps equals secret recipe for success.
Very good.
There
and
you go.
I know that we sound repetitive, but I think it's important to note that anyone that we asked to send in this stuff,
to share.
They all said rest.
Yes.
So that goes to say, no matter what you do, no matter what your primary workout is, rest is important.
Yep. And then worst, fasted cardio is not all it's cracked up to be. You cannot target areas for losing weight no matter what infomercials try to tell you. That's funny. So two different things there. Fasted cardio is not all it's cracked up to be, which that is usually how we run. But it's not always for everybody, and we cannot do sustained long runs fasted.
Right, we will
gel or
fuel
beforehand, take a Cliff Gummy or something before we start usually.
And it kind of depends on, I think timing is everything.
Yes.
Because for example, when we do morning runs, I would prefer to be fasted. But then, like you said, we fuel along the way. We're not just completely draining our tank. But then if my schedule, now I'm kind of run in the morning. I'll do burn it in the evening just because of where we live and everything. But so I will find that if I'm empty, like last night, I did cardio burn and I had not consumed enough. I did not catch a second wind. I just was draining my body. So that would have been a situation where I should have taken in a little something beforehand.
Absolutely.
And not have been fasted. So it really just depends on the timing. Because at the end of the day, and you haven't had enough food that day, you probably don't want to push yourself as hard as you can on an empty tank. But in the morning, it kind of works well to start out that way. So.
And then that second part, you cannot target areas for losing weight no matter what infomercials try to tell you. This one is funny because we all know our own bodies and our body types. And as much as I might want long, thin, lean legs, I just know my legs are bigger.
We got some
and
quads.
We got quads, and I got a booty. And, like,
It's
no
just-
matter what I do, it's still going to be larger on me in comparison to the rest of me. So you just got to work with your body as best as you can and know your body type. And, yeah, unfortunately, we can't just, like,
pick what we want.
certain parts because I would do it if I could.
But then some people, you know, like our neighbor, Courtney.
Oh, yeah.
We were running with her, and she mentioned, you know, we both, I think, made a comment, which we're hard on ourselves a lot, and we need to stop. But I think we're talking about shorts, because you and I were wearing, like, short shorts, and we're like, well, we kind of have to, because our quads are a little thicker, and if we wear longer shorts, it's just, we feel kind of trapped. And she noted, and I would never even think this, she was like, man, I would give anything to have such muscular legs. Like, that's my goal. That's what I'm working towards. And you're like, oh, like, what you have is probably what somebody else is hoping for.
Ideal
you know,
would
it's
be.
always grass is green on the other
just
side
like
situation.
if your hair's straight, you want to have curly hair.
Exactly.
If your hair's curly, you want to have straight hair. So,
right. So just be
you always
happy
want
with what you
don't
got.
have. Yep. All right, next up.
So Brittany sent in workout hard. This is worst advice. Work out hard every single day, which kind of goes in line with what a couple of the others said as well. That is not the best approach. Obviously, we need to have some easy days and some rest days, and make sure that you have a good balance there. Another thing that she said was avoid cardio if you're trying to build muscle, which obviously is not the case. So all of that was great information, great advice. If there's any more like crazy best or worst workout advice that you've heard, please share it with us. We would love to mention it on the podcast and just hear, because some of them are pretty humorous.
Yes.
But we appreciate all you guys sending that in. Hopefully somebody found some of this information helpful. I know I did. It was good reminders for all of us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I found some of it helpful, and it's definitely going to help us as we enter into marathon training, which starts for us kind of the end of this week, beginning of next week.
Yep.
We're going to jump into that.
I got chills.
I know.
Just now.
And we thought that maybe we should mention, because we have done this a couple of times already, but we're still nervous. Like, the thought of what is ahead is a little bit daunting and a little nerve-wracking.
And I forgot who I was talking to the other day, and I mentioned, like, well, you know, I'm going to be in marathon training in a couple of weeks. And they said, what all does that entail exactly? So we thought we would, I know we mentioned marathon training, and you can imagine it's hard. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of mental strength, you know, some tightening up of a lot of things. But we thought we'd kind of dive into what it actually looks like, what we remember. You know, it's been a full calendar year since we've been in marathon training.
And we mentioned that earlier, and I think that was one of the things that was like, oh, it's been a whole year. And we've kept up running. It's not like we've just stopped, but for those really long runs and pushing really hard on certain days and doing all the hills and all the things that we do, it's intense, and we're about to get back into it, so it's a little, once we get into it, we'll be like, oh yeah, we got this. But the thought of everything coming up is a little
taking the step in.
A leap of faith that we're going to do all this. But
even though that we've been, you know, still doing long runs every weekend, we've been pretty much in half marathon shape.
Yes.
Continuously. I like to kind of stay in that.
Right. We could go out and run a half marathon pretty much at any time. It might not be our best marathon ever, but we could run through a marathon and be fine.
Yes. But marathon training, the marathon distance.
I said marathon, I meant half. Sorry.
Full marathon distance is a whole nother ballgame. It's not just like 2 half marathons. It is every little decision that you make every day and all the little things. This marathon training to me is the first thing I think of is all the little things. It's all the little things that you do that add up. So it's like your diet has to be much more dialed in as far as fueling your body, because you're asking so much more of your body. Every week, and it's not just like one hard week and then you chill. Like you're doing something and asking something of your body every day pretty much. Even
on your rest days, you're asking your body, like, okay, you have to rebuild for me now. You have to,
because we're gonna do this again,
because we're about to get back into it, so I need you to recover for me right now
so we can be ready for next week.
And another thing that you have like always said or say a lot that I try and remind myself when I get a little bit nervous is the you today won't be running the marathon. It's the you then, and I will be changing, or we, whoever, will be changing all along the way. So it's not you today that's running the marathon. It's you in 16 weeks.
Right. The trained up, mentally tougher, more strong and confident
stronger
version of yourself that will be doing it.
Which I think is kind of profound. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, I won't be exactly the same. It's still me, but
you'll definitely change. Marathon training definitely changes you. And with that being said, we thought we would mention the training plan that we're doing. So we, as we have mentioned before, listened to the MTA podcast, in which I think they kind of helped kickstart a lot of our, ideas and
I want to even do a podcast.
Right.
And
they have a lot of helpful information. So we're doing the intermediate training program. It is 16 weeks. And we kind of toggled back and forth if we should do the beginner since it's been a year, which is a 20-week program, or the 16. And we decided on the 16-week mainly because we have 17 weeks until our race.
Right.
So then we have 1 week for
wiggle room, so to say.
If something comes up or if one of us is out of town or needs a break, just something. We have a little bit of wiggle room.
And we have a planned race in October where we will be doing obviously a half marathon, and that may not be what is technically in our regimen or plan. So then we have some wiggle room with that to either do a little more, a little less.
Yes.
To get in shape for that, or to recover a little extra from that.
Exactly. And then also with that, with the intermediate program, the Monday, start the week runs are a little bit longer. So the beginner was like 4 to 5 miles, and this one goes 5 to 7. So we thought that would be helpful to help us kind of build up our endurance.
Right.
Since we, do 4 miles, 5 miles often. So.
And the long runs for the intermediate start at about 8 miles, which we have been doing pretty much through the whole summer and shouldn't have any kind of problem with. And the other, like the starting point for the midweek runs or longer runs on Mondays are definitely not out of our wheelhouse. So we feel like we should be up to speed enough to be able to jump in there.
And to kind of ease into it where we're gradually building up and not just like taking on something that's way too much.
Right.
So our eating will be dialed in, which means a lot less processed foods. I know a lot of the times when I've been in marathon training in the past, like we'll have salmon and vegetables for dinner. I may eat out like once per weekend, obviously minimize drinking and things like that, desserts and sweets, because anything that's going to cause inflammation or slow you down, it definitely affects you.
Yep.
And you can definitely see that when you're running, 16 miles, and you can, when you've done both, and we have done it and felt good and like so confident and able to power through, it's a much better feeling than dragging through because you ate poorly or you didn't rest enough and you have to just kind of drag yourself through it, and you don't want to feel that way. So.
And I know we have talked about this before and touched on it before, but reach out and let us know if you would be interested in us going through like super duper granular, step by step eating, workout, what runs we do. If you would like us to, just kind of step by step go through that again and do a whole episode on that, let us know, because it's probably good for us to go through it like that again, because we need to remember and think about it and get a plan in our head before we jump in. So
yeah, kind of like a day in the life.
Yes.
Of marathon training.
Yeah, like go through a full week of like, this is what we would eat this day. This is what we would run this day.
I like
that. Just kind of go through the whole thing.
And I've been kind of racking my brain. Okay, what did I eat? And like I'm trying to remember all the little things. So we're a little nervous, to get started. This is a big endeavor, and we want to do it good. So we might do it
whether you want it or not.
Yeah. Just for our own refresher, but it's a big endeavor that we're about to take on. I think we're all ready for the discipline.
Yep.
And we're super excited.
Once again, it is the Chattanooga Marathon. We had mentioned last time we have a code for 20% off of any distance. You don't have to do the full marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K.
Yep.
Correct?
And then also, that's correct. They also have a couple challenges where you can do a 5K Saturday and the half or full Sunday. And I'm also trying to convince everyone here in the office to do at least the 5K.
Come on. The 5K, 3 miles.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it that puts their mind to it.
And it's in Chattanooga, so it's pretty close by. Our code is Relatable Runners for 20% off. And it's a really pretty course. It'll be in November, so the weather will be prime. But look it up, Chattanooga Marathon, and if you want to join us, we would love to have you.
Yeah, make sure to reach out and let us know if or when you sign up. Long run recap. This week's long run was unfortunately all separate. Except for Aaron and I got to run together. We did 6.4 miles. I'm not sure how I stopped at 6.4 and didn't at least get it to 6.5, but I must have just not been paying that much attention.
Y'all probably were trying to get to 6 and then we're talking or something.
And then like we arrived at my house, I'm sure, and we're like, okay. Whew. Or actually we may have met at her house. I don't remember, but it was Friday because I was going to be out of town this weekend, so I was like, I want
way to plan ahead.
Get some miles in, more so than, just 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. So we just went in the neighborhood, and it was great. I'm trying to remember, because I've ran with her since then, and now I'm trying to, piece it together. But
all you told us was the distance, so I don't know the details, but I'm proud of you either way.
6.4 miles, and like you said, I planned ahead so that I could get it in. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to get up while I was out of town and run because I didn't really know where I was, or if there was not really anywhere to run where I was at. So I'm glad I planned ahead and got it in.
Very good. So mine, I met Betsy, was finally able to meet on Saturday. So I took her to the place that we went the week prior.
Glorious.
Our glorious, magical Old Stone Fort Park.
Yes.
With the waterfalls, and we ran a lot. Of course, this is more of an exploratory run because you kind of have to slow down when you're over there, but it was so pretty. We did 5.5 miles, and I can tell whenever you're on the trails and having to do high knees basically the whole time over the tree roots, even with some slower, one of our miles was a lot more of a jog, a lot slower. I still felt it in my legs. And we actually ended up getting into the water during our run, not even at the end. I showed her the shallow water kind of at the bottom of the waterfall. It was so pretty. She was like, well, we'll have to get in. I was like, yeah, I know. I've been talking about that with the girls too. Me and Amber were saying, we could bring extra shoes. And I'm trying to plan it all out.
Socks and a towel.
She's like, no, we should just get in now. And I was like, oh, okay. So we'll just take our shoes off. And she's like, no. And she just went in. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did too. And it was actually very
it actually looked amazing.
Free. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It felt like a vacation experience. We were walking in the water and just laid in the creek with the waterfalls.
Was that your slow mile?
That was my slow mile, and I was laying down.
While you were laying in the water.
Right, but then we had to run a mile back in our wet clothes and shoes, which was not terrible. I didn't even get a blister. Had a belegas on and my on-trail shoes.
Wow,
and honestly, my clothes are usually that wet while I'm running anyway because I'm so sweaty. So it was magical. I loved it.
It probably smelled better on the way home that way.
It's a little more refreshing, actually. Took a mid-run bath. But it was really nice. It was not, a super long distance, but it was definitely some effort on the trails.
Yes.
And really enjoyable. So that was very nice. And this weekend we shall be together again.
Yay! Can't wait.